All right, good morning. Welcome back to TwinStick Garage. On today's episode, I'm going to continue working on my 359 Peterbilt project I've named Little by Little, and I'm going to attempt to put on these beautiful half fenders from Class 8 manufacturing. It's amazing that 50 years later, So these fenders were actually a gift from my mom last year, and I haven't had the chance to put them on because of course I got distracted with the paint and everything else. But today is going to be the day. So I actually bought these from a local distributor, Lesco, who specialize in all kinds of, they call it the candy store for truckers. So if you're in the Edmonton area, definitely go check out Lesco. But if you're not in the Edmonton area, you can actually go straight to the Class 8 website and see and download their catalog and see what kind of fenders they have. They've got every different style, shape, size, everything you could ever want for fenders for your semi truck. So go check them out. They make a great product, and I'm excited to actually see what it's going to take to get these on the truck. I think the biggest challenge is going to be cutting off or unbolting the old mounts, because I've got some new stainless steel paddles. And then the support mount in the back, you can see that the previous owner, the owner before that, just went crazy with the welding and gummed up their own mounts, which are too high and aren't going to work. So I got to cut all that mess off of there. I'm going to have to drill some new holes, unless I can make one of these ones work, in the frame. And now, of course, 79 Pete has an inner channel and an outer channel. So it's actually two thickness or double thickness of steel that I'm going to have to cut through. So I was contemplating trying to drill that by hand, but then I reached out to my buddy Blake and said, Blake, do you happen to have a mag drill that I could borrow? And he's like, oh, sure, you can come and get it. And he even gave me some annular cutters to cut the proper size hole in the proper location. So we'll use that later in the episode. But like I was saying, first off, I've got to get the old mounts off of here. And I'll do one side first and then learn how to do it and learn from my mistakes and then flip over to the second side. But I'm hoping by the end of the episode, I can get these beautiful fenders on there, peel off all the plastic, and then just show the stainless steel beauty at the end of it. Well, I figure what I'll do, because I don't think battery power is going to be enough to cut through all of that with my Milwaukee. So I'm going to switch my DeWalt from a polishing rig to a grinding setup. So we'll just put the original gears back on there. Oh, that's a pretty small disc. Do I have a 7-inch? Let me see. No, I do not. All right, well, we'll use a 6-inch. That should cut anyway. I've got a larger, what is this, an 8-inch? 7-inch grinding disc, and I'll use that to clean everything up once I cut the edges off and get this out of here. And then I'll use that to flatten it out and make it look pretty. Now, when you're grinding, you want to make sure that you're wearing all the right gear. Face shield and hearing protection. I know some guys criticize me. I've seen some comments going, oh, Mr. Safety. But you don't want to muck around with getting hurt, because it'll really put a kink in your day when you're trying to continue working on trucks or do your day job or have fun. So I'm a believer in safety. Okay, put this stuff on and start grinding. That was really on there. Yeah, that's some nice welding. Wasn't pretty, but it definitely held. Okay, so now I'm going to try and clean this up as best I can. I mean, ideally, this truck still has some rust jacking, and I think longer term, the hangers have been cut into with the leaf springs over time. This truck's just this back end of this truck's been worked, and I would really like to do a cutoff because I think it's still not long enough. I think a 359 Pete or a 379 should be stretched out just a little, at least a couple feet, because a couple feet's probably all I'm going to be able to fit here in the shop. But longer term, if I can find a newer low air leaf cutoff, I think what I'd do is I'd cut this whole mess off and then wheel the new one in and get Blake to help me weld it in. But that'll be down the road. I'm just trying to get this truck ready for the Lesco truck show in September, so I can bring it out and share it with all the fans. So I'll stay focused on just mounting these, and then I'll have to remount them again down the road on the new cutoff. But for now, I'll just clean this up as best I can, flatten it all out, and then prime and just flat black paint over it, and call it a day, and then try and figure out where the new mount's going to go. My worry is the new mount's going to need to be in the same spot, but well, I suppose the mount doesn't really matter. You can have it as forward or aft as you want, as long as it's still underneath the fender, and then just drill new holes. So I may be able to find some nice clean metal up here. I think it's just a single bolt actually, but this spot here is going to be triple steel. So I got to go through the fifth wheel and then the first channel and the second channel. So thank goodness for that mag base drill. I may have to take this bolt out though to get the mag base to sit on there, but that's a problem for later in the day. Let's stop talking and clean that up. Well, I want to thank the previous owner of this truck for putting a whole box of welding rod in here just to make sure that the fenders didn't bounce off. Man, what a mess. And the problem is I've only got a few of those 6-inch cutting discs left. I mean, I want to try and pretty this up, but I do need to still cut off the other side as well. Ah, crap. Well, maybe what I'll do is I'll cut the other side off, and then I'll try and make it as pretty as I can with the cutting and grinding discs that I do have left. All right, I think I know what happened here. So these are obviously bolt-on brackets, or originally were bolt-on brackets, because it doesn't look like this is welded to the frame rail. It's just bolted on there and there. So probably what happened was previous owner, or the owner before him, had these on here and that side broke, so then they just bubble gummed it in over and over so it wasn't going to go anywhere. So that's why I got so much grinding to do on that side. So that's good. That's a good problem to have. I think it's just those two bolts. So it's going to be like the Iron Duke all over again. I guess I can try and loosen these. I imagine they're rusted and seized as hell, but at least it's not steel through an aluminum frame, so I don't have to deal with all that corrosion crap. But what I might do is maybe just grind off these bolt heads here and then pound what's left of the stud through. And then this guy should just fall right off of here. And then I've got whatever, 3 or 4 discs left to clean up the other side. Oh, that side was way easier. All right, what I might do, see if I can pound those studs out, and then ideally it'd be nice to put some new bolts in there. I mean, there's still 3 aft, 3 forward. It's like these 2 broke off. I don't know, probably from rust jacking, trying to lift up the fifth wheel. But obviously I'm going to be putting there'll be a new bolt right through here for the mount that's going to come up and hold and support the fender underneath. And again, I'm not pulling super bees with this truck just yet. It's a toy truck at this point, but like I was saying earlier, a newer cutoff, a new fifth wheel, and a new B block under the hood, and then this truck might just be ready to go back to work once I'm retired from my day job. Well, I got all the life out of that disc.
Shake hands with danger.
Well, I realized after taking off the other side that this is just a plate welded on. So rather than trying to cut all this gumbo off of here, I finally thought, why don't I just cut the welds and then bang the plate off. So we'll see if I did enough there to pry this thing off of there. And then I can clean it up a hell of a lot easier. Getting there. Now, a little more on that, a little more on the front. I think that would just break the weld. My compliments to whoever welded this. There. All right. Now I can get the grinding disc out, clean off that rust, flatten this out, and should be good to go. There, not the prettiest, but it'll do. I mean, I guess I could replace the fifth wheel, just get one off a newer truck and put it on the rails. So that could be a project for another day. But that'll work for now. I'll prime and paint that. And then, well, I'll wait for it to cool and then I'll prime and paint it. And I guess the next step will be to try and get these two bolts off of here and get these front old paddles, old steel paddles off. Fun. Now that's the one nice thing about having multiple projects going on, is I need some new bolts for those hanger mounts. And I've got a ton of 15/16 bolts for the Iron Duke. Perfect. Oh yeah, and so you remember the episode, a couple episodes ago, where I put in the blue bus glass? Well, I didn't put it in, Brett put it in. And there was still 2 more panels left over from all the glass that we ordered. So Brett asked me, he goes, "You want me to cut out some panels for the Duke?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So those will be going in the old Iron Duke. And I'm thinking what I might do, Brett was laughing, saying, "Well, now you've watched me do it. Why don't you try and put them in under his close supervision?" So I might try and put one of those in on an upcoming Patreon episode and see how that goes. But I think that's going to look really sharp in the Duke. Now, we're not going to go blue all the way around because, of course, this truck's going to be red, and I just thought the blue wouldn't really match, but we'll do the blue just in the front. And then, of course, he cut the little, it's actually a 4-piece windshield, so there's 2 front panels and then 2 little side panels, so those will match up, and those just go right in the edge there. So, future episode. All right, let's get back to the Pete. Now, I'm actually wondering if one of these holes I might be able to use for the stump mount. There's a stump mount that's threaded, and then the paddle slides over that, and then the paddle supports the fender at the front. So what I might do is start mocking this up. Now, of course, this is air ride, and it's bagged all the way down. Now there's no air in the truck, so I'm going to air it up with my cheater valve and get the truck level, and then I'll put the fenders on and block it up with wood, get the thing perfectly level, and then try and figure out where that front paddle mount needs to go. Now, of course, once I get this all done and the hole drilled front and back for the mounts, then I'll take that off of there and then I'll redo my flat black. Everyone always goes, "Oh, it's a show truck. Why do you have a flat black frame?" But a couple of reasons. Flat black is easy to touch up. I mean, I can just paint right over it and it'll look like new. And I kind of like the flat black because then the truck is shinier. It draws your eye up to the nice metallic blue paint. And I kind of like the homage to the old school where it was just flat black. They didn't have shiny frames. Now, down the road, when we do cutoff, I may go gloss black. But for now, flat black will be mint. Now, I figure I should also measure the frame 39 3/4 aired down. So now I'll air it up, but what I want to make sure I do is have enough clearance. So I'll probably put, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches of clearance here, because of course, when it's level, because then when the air goes out, you don't want it to land on there and crumple the fender as it sits down on the tires. So I got to make sure I take that into consideration as well. Well, ain't that the way with old trucks? So as I was monkeying around trying to get the fender level, I had air going into the truck and I noticed the frame rails weren't coming up. So the airbags weren't filling. So I started doing a little troubleshooting here, and I think my leveling valve might be buggered. Now I bought this new back when the truck was working on it outside in the gravel. So that's probably 6 years old, but I mean, this truck hasn't seen a lot of highway miles, so I can't imagine why this thing would have given up the ghost. But the bottom inlet is air from the truck, which was coming from this relay, and I checked it and there's air there. So I'm just doing it manually here. And when the valve's up, like when it's level, it's stopped and shut off. But when it's up, there should be air flowing out of the center. That's the exhaust, and this is the air that goes to the middle one, it fills up the airbags. And there's just nothing coming out of there. So I don't know if some rust or some dirt got in there and buggered it up, but I guess I need a new leveling valve, which again is a bummer for the project I'm working on today. But I suppose what I can do is manually jack the truck up until the leveling valve is level, and that should get me close to where the airbags are full. But yeah, it's always something with these old trucks, isn't it? All right, laziness is the mother of invention. So I stole my air valve, and I'm tapping into the air that fills the bags up, and I figure I can just, it's a one-way valve so it won't leak out, and then I can air this up and then just control it and fill up the bags. Because I contemplated bringing the gantry over here, but that's a ton of work. And then I thought the gantry would be in the way when I'm trying to get the fenders on, so I'm hoping this works. All right. There we go. That's how it's supposed to go up. Maybe a touch more. That should be level. Okay, now I think that's going to be the spot there. Now what I did was I just used a 2x4 to hold it up at the front, and then I just used another 2x4 and kept moving it along the tire until I got it level, and that kind of held it up in place. Now that looks right, looks straight, and I believe the paddle should work on this lower bolt hole here. I think that's gonna fit up quite nice. So I can I'm gonna have to drill this out because it's a larger diameter for the stud or the stump. But hopefully I can mount the mag base drill here and then just drill through and make that a larger hole. Now I'm gonna have to go through the hanger, the outer channel, and the inner channel. But there's already a hole drilled, so hopefully it's not too difficult to do that. Now, I don't really see an option otherwise. I would like it tucked a little closer to the tire. I think the gap's a little large. It's not too bad, but there's not really an option here with the 359 Pete because I can't have the paddle go any farther that way because the spring hanger is there. So I think that's gonna have to be the spot. But that does look pretty sharp. Yeah. Okay, so I guess first up, what I need to do is, I'll have to take this bolt out now and then set up the mag base drill and see if I can't make a larger hole there. Now that was sure nice of Blake to offer to loan me his mag base drill, because I've actually got a larger hand drill that actually, that's Blake's too. He loaned it to me to cut holes, drill holes in the Duke frame. But of course the Duke's an aluminum frame, so it's not much to drill through it. But with 3 layers of steel, what can end up happening is if you're using a hand drill, when it gets to the next layer, it can buck and really snap. And well, TwinStick's already buggered up his shoulder. He doesn't need to bugger up his forearm. So, but if you want to go check out Blake's channel, I highly recommend it. He is an expert at flying. He actually got me up in his plane a couple nights ago. And man, once he took off, I realized what a pro he is. I jokingly called him Iceman because, man, he is, you could tell the skill that he has for welding carries over to flying because he's so smooth, and it was a real treat to go up in the plane. Oh, Iceman. Cut through the cast like butter, but now it's onto the steel frame, and it's working a little harder, but I'll just keep it lubricated and go nice and slow, and I should have a nice 3/4 inch hole when I'm done. 1 3/4 inch hole drilled. So now this stump can be mounted. So as you can see, it's just threaded there. So I'll put the bolt through and then and tighten that up, and should be good to go. Yeah, that's a lot of metal to go through. And just to make sure this doesn't back out of here, I'll put a little bit of blue Loctite on there. Now I'll probably need a pipe wrench to hold that. My favorite was that that part in, oh, what's that new oil rig movie with Billy Bob Thornton? And he gets the pipe wrench to shut off the valve, and he's got it completely backwards. There, that shouldn't go anywhere. Typical dad saying. All right. Oh yeah, boy. Something like that. Now, I'm gonna have to be extra careful to make sure I measure twice and cut once, drilling the holes into the fender. Now they do give a little template here. No, must use anti-seize on drill holes. Place on paddle, punch holes, place template on fender. Okay. All right, so I discovered afterwards that my recorder battery didn't last, so I don't have any sound for these following few clips. But essentially what I'm talking about here is just getting everything lined up so it's straight and square and level and centered, and marked out, obviously marked out where the paddle goes on the fender there. Made sure it was straight, used the bolt to tighten it to make sure the paddle's solid. And then I double checked level, front and back, side to side. You really want to take your time to double, triple, quadruple check this to make sure it's right, because once you drill the holes, you're kind of SOL if you get it wrong. And then I also measured the heights. So if I recall, I think it was like 41 inches or 44 inches at the front, 44 inches at the back. And then I was also checking to make sure the distance from the frame is the same. I think it was 6.5 inches at both the back and the front. So I had it really square at this point, and I was confident that where I drilled the holes would be correct. All right, half done. I really am amazed that I got those holes lined up and drilled correctly, but proud to say they all went in there without stripping and going in crooked. That's looking sharp. Okay, so next up is this mount. Now, I guess the way this works is drill a hole through the frame, and they give you a little bit of wiggle room in case you're a little off, and then a little bit of wiggle room here. But I'll try and get it as close as I can to where it needs to be. And as you can see, it just goes under and supports like that. And that's interesting. I may be able to use that top hole there. Yeah, that actually might work. So this is another example where I didn't realize my microphone battery had died. But I figured out I wanted to use the forward hole on the spring hanger. I thought that would make more sense, and the size of the hole is actually perfect. So all I had to do was take the bolt out of the spring hanger and get a longer bolt and then just bolt it right to the frame without issue. Now I also realized I didn't want to use the back one because not only can you see more of the support, but then it's also close to the tire if I ever had tire chains on. So I thought I'd go with the forward one, and this will save me a ton of work by not having to drill another hole in the double frame. Okay, so now that I got everything in place, what I did was measure out where the support is sitting from underneath. Now it's a slightly crooked coming out of the frame for some reason, probably because it's sitting on the spring hanger, so it's going at a bit of an angle. But I can cheat, and what I ended up doing was, like I say, marking out where the bar sits underneath the fender, and then I just did the holes, marked out the holes at a set, I think it was 8.5 inches from the edge. So the holes will be straight, and that way it looks proper from the top. It doesn't look like the holes are drilled crooked, and nobody will be the wiser. So then I just center punched it and then proceeded to drill the holes. Now they provide carriage bolts, which are a little bit larger size where that square edge is underneath the head. So I had to go a bit larger on the hole size so the carriage bolt, the stainless steel carriage bolt, would sit down inside and flush with the fender. So after I marked it all out, I just drilled the holes, and that was it. All right, check this out. Huh? That is cool. Yeah, nothing beats stainless. Yeah, that's the exact look I was going for. Half fender, dropped all the way to the ground. And it's kind of neat that Class 8 puts their own little laser etch on there. I dig that. I dig that a lot, and I got it at the back too. Now, I didn't bother finish bolting it in there because I realized that I'll need to take it off one last time because I don't want to get overspray. I mean, I guess I could mask it all off and try and paint it, but I think it'll be easier if it's off the truck and then I can paint it. I actually want to redo the whole back rail here. So yeah, there you go. That's how to mount a half fender. And yeah, special thanks to my mom for buying me these for my birthday there last year. Thanks to Lesco and Class 8 Manufacturing. You guys are awesome. Make a great product. So I guess what I'll do, I'm getting a little winded. It's long, deep into the day, and I don't want to tackle the other side because I might get a little half-assed and end up drilling in the wrong spot. So I'll probably tackle the other fender one of the evenings this week, and I'll have them back on for the next episode. But with that, I'm going to wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed watching. See you in the next one. And like I always say, don't ever forget, if you got it, truckers brought it. And I just wanted to have a quick special shout out to the most recent people that signed up for my Patreon accounts, my most recent patrons. So special thanks to Richard Herrera, Tyler Abbott, Travis Ladobruck, Timothy Belongi, Alan Robertson, hope I'm saying everyone's name right, K. Dubbin McCabe, W900, now that's a cool name, Matthew Hull, Robert M., Justin Williams, Cody Callan, The Fuel Fairy, and Jeffrey Hardy. So special thanks to you guys. Without the support that you provide through Patreon, I wouldn't be able to keep all these projects going, so I really appreciate it. And I know you loyal patrons out there are probably waiting for some more Iron Duke content. I promise I'm going to get back to the Iron Duke. What I actually ended up doing was doing some math backwards from the September Lesco show. So I believe it's the third weekend of September in the Leduc Antique Society, just west of Edmonton. And hopefully anyone that's local can come out there and say hi. But I really wanted to I'm going to obviously take the Snowman truck and the trailer, but I really wanted to get the Pete there this year. I know there's a lot of folks that would like to come out and see the truck and maybe sit in it for a picture. So what I've been doing the math backwards from third weekend of September, and it doesn't leave me a lot of Saturdays. So I've really been leaning into the Pete to try and get this thing finished. I'm on the home stretch now. Obviously got to get the other fender on there and put the rest of the chrome on and put the exhaust back in, and put the interior back together. So it's nothing that's hard. It's just a matter of time, and I only have so many Saturdays. So hoping to get the truck there, and then I'm going to get back on the Duke and hopefully get going on the Trans Am this winter as well, because I promised Mrs. TwinSticks that she'll be able to drive that thing next summer. So with that, I'll wrap it up there. Really appreciate everyone's support. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.